Guys, this is part 3 of valuable tips for virtual designers or beginners. And there's 2 other videos before. We're following the progress of a student learning how to do this. And I think that everyone who's learning how to use PlusArchitect or PlusDesignBuild will get a lot of value out of this, because you'll see common mistakes that I'm going to point out as we go. I'm also going to talk about virtually modeling a Revit model today. And I'm going to show you some progress of a student without any training. Let's have a quick look. Okay, so first things first, it would be silly of me just to throw anyone into the deep end and get them to just do something. So I could have just sent 2 plans, and I think it wouldn't have been any value because I probably wouldn't have got back anything that I could have, got any benefit from. So what I actually did is, being that they were DWGs, and this is a Revit model that it was actually done by an experienced Revit modeler, and these plans were created for that. So what I did is I actually sent him the Revit model and 2 sets of plans, and I said, look, I just want you to have a go at actually drawing this and figuring out the roof yourself and figuring out how to draw it. Now, I got mixed results. I'm going to explain them because I think that they're things that will happen to you over time, and I'm going to show you how to fix them as well. Now, I created these vignettes, or look, it's basically a column that I created with the material that I wanted on it and so on. And I also created these wall types. This wall type was I expected to be done in the garage, and this wall type was on the ground floor area, and this wall type was in the main house, and these were the floor joist types that I wanted, and this was everything that I set up because I thought it would make it a lot easier. Now, the student's first language isn't English, so I think that does create a small problem. And also probably not wanting to bother me because I'm a busy guy, and admittedly he did send a couple of models and I went, man, watch the tutorials because I'm too busy. And I'm just going to show you, so this is the Revit model, and what I also did do is I actually created the engineering, what I knew would be required to hold this house up. And he's interpreted that in a strange way, and we'll have a look at that as we go. And there's a couple of other things where wall alignment and things didn't work. Now, for a new student, I kind of just want to explain it a little bit because I'm going to send this to this designer as well and try and explain this a little bit better. When you're looking at a set of plans, the thickness of the wall determines what type of wall it is. So you can see I have an internal wall and an external wall. And if I went upstairs, kind of a bit strange is that only 3 walls are thicker and the rest of the walls are thinner. And that would tell you that these here are most likely brick because they're so much thicker, and these are most likely lightweight cladding. Now, I think I created a bit of confusion by actually adding this wall, and really I probably should have not done that. I should have actually created the right type of wall for this particular instance. I wasn't thinking either, so I've got to take part of that blame. So what Matt has done is he's gone and drawn the whole house upstairs as brick, yet it was clear from the Revit model that it wasn't brick. However, they're all the downfalls. I've got to talk about the good things. A Revit model, this is what it is, it's hollow. And I actually put this steel in with PlusDesignBuild, so that's not there. So really all we get to see is this. Now, if in PlusDesignBuild, if I click structure, I can actually see how it's built. Now, for me as a builder and have a student deliver this to me is a real benefit for multiple reasons. And I'm going to go through this steel and things in a minute. The main reason is I can get a good costing out of it. Now, even though the drawing isn't 100% correct, I'm still going to get a very accurate costing, much better than I'd get out of any export that I did from Revit. So that to me as a builder is valuable, and it enables me to look at the buildability or how we go about building this house, or even value engineer it so that we can make it cheaper, because this is pretty much the bottom of the line house that you would build in Australia. Right, so a couple of things. This steel, I'm not sure why he's done that. I've got no idea why that's been done. Potentially to cover up the fact that he actually didn't put the right size floor joists in. And now, again, not his job to put the right size floor joist in. However, if he had a looked at the vignette, it already had the right size floor joist in. Now, to me, it's not a big deal because all I actually have to do is click on these floor joists and change the size of them. Floor joists, edit joists, and change the size. So, you know what? Look, builders, including myself, can sometimes be probably not have the same patience level as we should have. So, look, I'm just going to move this down. Right, because basically all I did was change the floor joist. And I think that the reason he put the steel in was he went, well, these joists are floating in the air. Well, they were, but that's because they weren't the right size. And now we can see some really obvious problems that can be picked up is how would we hold these floor joists up? And that's the reason why I actually did this over here. So if I actually grabbed this one and this one and this one and I moved it, I kind of already quickly conceived what it was that needed to be done. And I'm just going to move that down as well. It looks as though the drawing has been done at a different height. Right. And I can see there's a couple of things that I even missed, but the best thing is that I actually can solve this problem right here and now, and I can put more beams in. It's not really for the student to do this type of work. I'm just showing you what I would do, and you know what, if you can get good at that, then fine. There's a couple of other things that I've also overlooked is that this beam here actually needs to be lower than this beam, so I'm just going to explode this group. And I'm going to take these two together because obviously my roof can't go through that. This is why we virtual model, because we can solve all the problems that we would have in the job, and this steel beam would sit on top of it. I wouldn't have known this unless the student drew the plan, because I would have had to spend hours sorting it out. Now that's a benefit for me. I could probably actually even lower this down further to hold up those bricks there, and it would save me some money. This is value engineering. It isn't for the student to do. If I lower that down to there and I put a little steel column up from here to here, I would then pick up all of my bricks, and I'll just show you what that means. You see, these bricks have to be held up by something, and this roof has to be held up by something, and that the reason I put this steel in here is to hold the bricks up and to hold these floor joists up. So, look, I mean, it's not a bad thing from the student. I think it's a good thing. The next thing is that Matt didn't actually pay attention to how I had gone about drawing these walls. You can see that they're a different type of wall, and they should have been set down to suit the slab step down, because when I go to structure, it shows me quite clearly that nothing's holding that wall up. So it would have meant that these walls needed to be stepped down and actually made higher. But in this particular case, we don't actually use timber framing in garages. Well, it wasn't my intention. A garage or a set down area is considered a wet area, and therefore putting timber or lumber on the ground can be problematic. So that's why we wouldn't do it technically. There's a couple of other things with the drawing too. Now, you notice I've been using scenes to explain to you what it is that I'm talking about. And scenes, there's so much more to scenes. It's really important that you understand why scenes. The first reason is it's easier for SketchUp to deal with multiple pieces of geometry or more detailed geometry when it's not looking at everything. So to go to all and then turn it into transparent mode, your graphics card is really struggling with this. It's not a good way to do it. It's so much easier to just go, I just want to see the frame, what's going on, move forwards. But that's only one reason for actually doing, creating scenes. And the next one is elevations and sections. So if I went section A, automatically it's cut a section through the SketchUp drawing, and I have to move that section so that it is where I want it to be. And I'm going to show you what Matt actually sent. I just quickly changed this so I could show you. The model that Matt sent me was this one. Well, he sent me two. He first sent me this one. He couldn't work out how to do the roofs. Now, guys, I was busy at the time. I just said, Matt, go and look at the tutorials in the truss tool, or Google how to do trusses in PlusSpec. And Matt got it from that. So I could have made a video just like this and spent an hour. I haven't got. watching the tutorials or using Google, how do I do X in PlusSpec, enables you to go directly to the information that you should need. This is the first model he sent. I didn't respond other than Google it and do that. Let me know if you think that's a bit tough. Right. Let's just see if I've got his other model. This is the model, and I kind of did make some edits. Now, the next thing was when I clicked on floor plan, I've moved this, but the floor plan was up here. And the reason being is when you click the scene tool, it will automatically choose the axes to create the location of the floor plan. And I can tell that Matt did not draw this drawing in this model because it wasn't shown in the original floor plan. It means that Matt isn't paying attention to scenes, and Matt is losing most of the benefit that you get from PlusSpec. I would say that this has probably been drawn in another model, brought back into here after, and do it. And you know what? I don't really like being told yes if the answer is not yes. I'm having troubles with it, and here's the 3 troubles I'm having. Can you help it? Now, I'm told from Matt that his computer, and he does have a low spec computer, isn't handling the geometry that's required. And the reason, first thing I said to him is, number 1, make sure that you are using scenes to control the speed of your computer. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, you know what? The second model I got didn't have any scenes in it. Can't stress it enough, guys. The reason why you create scenes is it makes it easier to draw. So, for instance, over here, if I was going to draw this model, and there's a couple other things that I want to talk about here. If I was going to draw this model, it's easier to do it in a scene that has no color turned on. So this actually is black and white. I could go to 2D mode here, or I could actually just go to a scene, which would be, say, structure, and I can see different things. It's turning them on and off, which enables me to go in here and say, right, I want to draw these walls. So wall, trace straight around the plan. Obviously, you're going to choose the right wall type, which I'll do here. Masonry veneer. And very quickly, I'm going to see whether my frame lines up with my slab. Right. This is a structural point, and I think this is where Revit and ArchiCAD really let new designers down, is understanding why things work the way that they do, right? Understanding how to make things work is the key to understanding how a building goes together. It's not drawing a 2D plan for council or construction documentation. This is construction documentation. The 2D paper plan that's printed out is just a form of communication between you and the builder, or you and whoever's going to put this together, potentially the engineer. Right, now getting back into scenes, if I went to all here, I can see that, oh, well, all of a sudden I've got walls that are actually have too thick. The cavity's too thick, so I would really want to change those. I would just go back to my wall tool and I would change these to internal walls. And I would also adjust all of my materials and everything to suit. Right. Now you can see that I actually have the wall. Now there was one other problem that I did notice in Matt's model, and that is the front door actually has a texture running through it. And for me to understand how that happened, I need to move this wall out and have a look at it. I'm going to move, control, and bring it out. Now this is something common that I do see from new designers, guys. When I looked at it in structure mode, I can see that the wall wasn't long enough to fit the door in, so he's drawn the wall in anyway, and it clearly showed me there was a problem here. This is actually incorrect, and it actually comes down to the designer considering where windows and doors are before they draw their walls. Now, he did have a plan, and this should not have happened. I'm going to show you how this should have been done. I'm going to go to all here, and we're going to go to our floor plan over here, and you can see that I have a brick and a brick set up here. Now, this wall here is actually probably the same, and I can check it by tape measure. Yep, 230 wall. So if I said wall and make it a brick veneer wall, you can close that if you want to after you click submit. And I'm just going to start to draw from here. I could have drawn from here as well. So I'm just going to go my right arrow button. You can see it says internal and external. It's really important to pay attention to that. If I went from here to here and then I push shift to line up with here, and I went through, and I could stop my wall here if I wanted to. Actually, I'm going to go delete there, guys. So I should have gone to the inside of the wall here. I can stop here, and then I can go through to here. Shift again. Simple trace, guys. And you can see that joined together because it's that. If I was there and it didn't, I wouldn't have created a loop. I want to create a loop in this instance. Right. Now I have my wall there. If I wanted to put my door in, right click, add door, and I choose the door type that I'm going to use. And I can see through the plan, it allows me to go in here and put my door in. There's no material going through that door because the door frame was drawn wide enough to deal with the door. You can see that, right? Okay, there's a couple of other things with this as well, guys. I'm going to go to all again. And you know what? The reason why I created the sections, and I'm just going to go to section C here and see whether it's been lined up. Section D. Okay. When you've created your scenes in your scene tool and you go all, it's going to create all of these sections and elevations. Now, it's up to you to line them up with your drawing. And I'm going to explain that. In some instances, the section has just been created on the axis. So if I moved it, it might show nothing. You need to move that back until you see your model, and you need to place it in the position you want to see it. And now I can look through the model. Now I'm going to go to my section A, which I kind of set up before, and I'm going to move this through a little bit more because it allows me to inspect the model. And now I can clearly see that the top floor and the ground floor walls don't line up. I don't know why. I'm going to go back to all and we'll have a bit better look at it. Shift Z enables you to see the whole model. And if I said to turn the roof off, I can now figure problems out a lot better. So for some reason, this wall doesn't line up. And you know, these are kind of frustrating for builders because they go, well, why didn't you just follow the plan? Maybe there's a plan error. I'm not too sure. It can easily be fixed. All I have to do is select the model and go shift, you set up a keyboard shortcut for the push-pull tool, and I can simply go from here and I can send the model, the room back to where it is. But it kind of is a bit frustrating because I really have to go about creating different models. Now, what happened there was the material that's been used I don't have in my library. I'll go and select these walls. And now, look, guys, just quickly, I can go and select these and go, I'll just do these three here, W, and go and choose a material that I want to put on that wall. Search, right, and go submit. Okay, now my wall's back in line with the way it should be. I'm not sure if I mentioned it earlier, but paying attention to wall sizes. Now, this wall here is 100% a clad wall. You can see it's thinner, and this is the double brick wall. Whereas really, I might have led mad down the garden path by doing this wall here. It should have been a clad wall. How would we add two different wall types together to make them work? And I'm going to explain that for you now. I'm going to go wall. I'm going to choose my wall type, which is masonry veneer, and I'm actually going to go about drawing this wall in. I'm using the outside of the wall, so I'm going to go right arrow. Notice I'm going clockwise. There, there, and there. I'm going to stop. Right? And then I'm going to change my wall type to lightweight frame with cladding. Choose my material on the outside, which is there, and I'm going to continue to trace around my walls. but I'm actually going to start from here. You can notice I've got a cavity, which means there's a batten in there. I'm going to turn that off because a batten basically extends the thickness of a wall. So external battens, and the answer is no, none. Therefore, my wall thickness has now come back down. Go and trace the rest of the drawing. Go around to where I want it to end, which is here. And now I have two different wall thicknesses on it. The only thing that will create any issues was that if I went right click, roof, create roof from walls, walls aren't a loop, and they're not a loop because they weren't drawn together. And the way to fix that is to use the rectangle tool in SketchUp. First go to your structure tool, go rectangle and draw a rectangle over the extremities of the model. And then take out the little piece that's not required. Delete the edges of the face, right click, roof, create roof. Now I'm in structure mode, so my roof's not showing, so I go all. And that's how to do that exactly. Now, there are some things with the structure which probably aren't really for students. I need to reduce the size of this frame by 90 mil on this side. And you can actually do that in the wall tool. Framing, and it's a frame offset that you wanted to change. Extend top plates. I can reduce my top plate size by the distance here, but guys, this is a different video. It's not a tutorial I'm doing here. I'm just showing you what to look out for when you're virtually modeling. Now, I'm going to get to the positives now, right? Look at how much more information I have and how much more I can utilize this model to solve problems. Whereas with the Revit model, close this down. The information I got was purely for 2D documentation only. Now, builders decipher 2D documentation, and a lot of builders and carpenters get very cranky with having to decipher that information when it's not correct. We could have used this to draw plans. So if I went to elevation 1, you'll notice I have elevations in the PlusSpec model. It's creating my elevations for me, right? There it is over here. Matt should have went to the center of where this elevation should be and go right click and update. And that way, if I went from elevation 1 to elevation 2, you'll notice that it's actually where it is. It's also showing me a couple of other little issues. We've got a beam showing through there, which I think was me. And elevation 3. Right. And that is the Revit model. So what you would do in that instance is you would go and select all of this. You would hide it. Right click, hide. You would then navigate to where that elevation was supposed to be. There it is there. And I'll go right click, update. And now my elevation is correct. And I can use this in layout to dimension and create my documentation. This one here is too big. I'm going to say there, right click, update. So really what I'm doing is I'm allowing the scenes to be created so that I can very quickly create my 2D documentation. But more importantly, I'm actually utilizing those scenes to help me get my 2D documentation done more efficiently. You can notice that now I pulled that front wall in. The roof is also short. Paying attention to the detail on the plan and not getting these errors early in the piece will ensure that your employer is happy with your work and you're more accurate in what you do. Again, guys, pay attention to the plan. Look at the wall thicknesses. If you're not sure, Google it first. What Matt's done is good. I'm happy with it. It's easier for me to edit. There are a few other things that I'd like to go through in there, but I think for now that's 24 minutes and it's enough for you to take in to help you guys get better at what you do. If you like the video, push like. If you dislike the video, push dislike. And if you think I'm too hard, tell me so and the way I should have gone about it.